Day, Scotland once again goes to the polls. We shall be voting in our local council elections. We use a method called the single transferable vote to select our councillors in this election. This voting system is a type of proportional representation, and it's used for selecting multiple candidates in one election. What follows is a great video to explain how this system actually operates. It is absolutely vital that you understand how this system works and why it's so important that you use not just one vote but all the votes you can for every single independence party and every single candidate that stands for Scottish independence. Please take the time to watch this video right to the end, because after the explanation of how the system works, I openly discuss why I feel it's so important that we're not partisan with our voting ways. Because if we are partisan with our voting ways, this will allow the Union parties to band together and form coalitions in councils all over Scotland. Enjoy the video.
You're about to vote at the council elections in Scotland, but might things be slightly different to what you expect? In this election, the voting system used is called single transferable vote. Here's the lowdown. Each council in Scotland is divided into smaller areas called wards. Depending on the ward you live in, you will be voting to elect anywhere between 1 and 5 councillors. You may already know that you need to number the candidates on your ballot paper in order of your choice. But do you know how the votes are counted and how people get elected? To be elected under this voting system, a candidate must reach a set amount of votes, known as the quota. So what is the quota? The quota is calculated by dividing the total number of valid votes cast by the number of seats to be elected plus 1 seat. A 1 is then added to that result. For example, with 500 ballot papers and 4 seats to be filled, the quota would be 101. The votes are counted in stages. Stage 1. Only first preferences are counted. Anyone who reaches the quota is elected. Stage 2. Any votes received for a candidate above the quota are transferred to the next choice on each of those ballot papers. If no candidate has enough votes to reach the quota, the candidate with the lowest number of votes is eliminated. Stage 3. All of their votes are passed to the next preference on those ballot papers. This process is repeated until all seats up for election have been filled and your councillors have been elected. Got it? Great work!
In the single transferable vote, you use a ballot paper not unlike most other ballot papers. It shows the candidates, the parties that they're affiliated with, and a place to make your mark. Instead of being a cross in the box like most elections, the single transferable vote is a method of proportional representation, and it is used for choosing multiple candidates. To do this, you would use a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 depending on how many people you want to vote for and how many candidates are actually on the ballot paper. So you would use a 1 for your first preference, 2 for your second preference, 3 for your third preference, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever for the remainder of your preferences. So what would happen if you got all partisan and decided that you were only going to vote for one party? In this example, you can see that the person that has marked their box here has only chosen the SNP. We shall say in this example of the election that the SNP candidate swept the boards and basically got enough votes and more to reach the threshold and was elected as a councillor. All the second choices on those ballot papers above the quota threshold would now be distributed amongst the appropriate candidates. If nobody reached the quota threshold now, then the candidate with the lowest amount of votes would be eliminated and their votes would then be distributed amongst the remaining candidates until somebody did reach the quota threshold. So the SNP voter did not choose a second or third candidate. Therefore, that ballot paper is no longer of any use and doesn't carry any other votes forward. In this example, the Unionist voter has been clever and has actually selected a second, third and fourth candidate. They have chosen not to be partisan in this election and don't really mind which Unionist party gets into the council, because they just want to push out the independence parties. So their ballot paper gets carried forward into each consecutive round, ensuring that their vote is carried forward for a second, third or fourth candidate that will be presented with enough votes upon reaching the threshold to be elected into the council. If we decide to remain partisan and just vote for one single Indy party, this could mean multiple seats being given away just due to ignorance of the system to the Unionist parties, and then, as we have seen on councils all around Scotland before, the Unionists band together to take control of local councils. However, if we are truly Yes Scots, and if we are truly wanting to make a statement at this ballot box event, it is absolutely imperative that you decide who you wish to vote for first out of the Indy parties, and then choose a second and third Indy party. And if there's any independent candidates that are pro-independence for Scotland, then choose them as well. This will allow your ballot paper and your votes to be carried forward into the second and the third or the fourth round, however many rounds it takes to complete the voting sequences to elect councillors into your local communities. If you wish to remain partisan, please don't be disappointed when Unionist parties come together and form councils all over Scotland, because that's what will happen. But if you can pull your head out of the partisan sand and see that this ballot box event is another opportunity to express how Scotland demands change, how we need change, it will give the Unionist Party something to truly think about. Right now, they think that we are ignorant of the system, that our partisanship is going to allow them to form these coalitions. So it is vital, absolutely imperative, that you choose all the independence parties. You may feel that you don't want to, I understand that, but it is so important that you just get past the daytime politics of a devolved country. We are allowed to have differences in political opinion. That's just normal. But right now, we are not a full political country. We are a devolved country with devolved powers which are meagre in comparison to every normal country throughout the world. So we can argue over daytime politics, we can argue over our differences, but it makes no difference. We're fighting within a box that we're not truly free to express ourselves in. We don't have the necessary authority to make the radical changes in Scotland that we want and that we need to recover from years of Tory austerity. The choice is simple. We can be partisan, vote for one party, continue to argue amongst ourselves like the clans of old, or we can just take a stand. It's just a number in a box. It does not define who you are. You can still have your political beliefs, but this sends a clear message to the Union that Scotland wants change. Thank you for listening. Goodbye and good luck.